Do it. Make your dreams come true. Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Yes.
Hate to interrupt your flow.
No, I know.
So a couple weeks ago, we had theoretical physicist Michio Kaku come here as well.
Cool.
Yeah, that was awesome. Talked a lot about the intersection of brain-machine interfaces, and I was wondering, based on your 99U talk, where you focus a lot more kind of on the neurobiological reasons why these things happen,
Yeah.
where do you see kind of the future of that going? Will we evolve as companies to be better and figure out if we can actually see, scientifically what's happening, or do you think we'll kind of continue to face these same problems?
Oh, such hubris. Yeah, we're not that smart. We I love, companies do competitive analyses, and yet it's the competition they didn't see that always gets them. It's the unsuspecting technology they didn't even know existed that comes up. MySpace was busy studying Friendster when Facebook showed up out of nowhere, right? And so we don't know. That's the point. We're so proud to believe that we've considered everything. The space shuttle blew up because of a bolt, okay? Things go wrong all the time because of one idiot decision about somebody who didn't see something. The housing crisis, mortgage-backed securities, the actuaries said that these have a 99% chance of success, because the 1% chance that the whole housing market would collapse at one time. So there was no plan for that 1% chance because that's the point. It's hubris. The human animal, this machine, is a legacy machine living in a very modern world. Nothing about us has changed in 50,000 years. Zippo. The way we interpret information, the way we make decisions, our drive to try and form trusting cooperative relationships, our need to feel safe, to feel valuable, to feel like we belong, all here it is. And yet we're forced to operate in a very, very different environment. And it produces some inherent problems. I've forgotten his name, but he's a really great biologist. He was explaining how back in those Paleolithic times, you know what the average life expectancy was? About 80, 85, 90. And there was no cancer, and there was no diabetes, and there was no heart disease. It was only with the rise of scale and industrialization, farming, did all the problems start to arise. And so we think that we're so advanced because we live to 74 now. Where in the Renaissance, they died at 35, right? But what we completely miss is that the ages were good, and they went like this because we started short-circuiting this machine. And so now we've been able to compensate for some of the short circuits naturally and with medicines and things like that. But if we actually live good lives, where we have longer, trusting, beautiful relationships, happier people live longer. People who are in relationships live longer than single people. We're social animals. We need each other, right? So my belief is that no matter how smart we think we are, no matter how integrated we can make the human being and the computer, there is something that we won't see that will catch us by surprise, and it will break. All of this chips implanted in brains and stuff, I think it's cool. It won't work. I mean, come on, we can't even figure out the cell phone. It's pretty imperfect technology. My Bluetooth thing doesn't really work, so I don't really bother with it. Calls get dropped, and I got Verizon, it's better than the others, and I still lose calls. Sometimes the calls aren't clear, sometimes I can't hear them. The handsets are kind of disposable. It's kind of junk technology. It's pretty good, not great, right? We don't build things to last anymore. So yeah, I think it's nice in theory. Yeah, it's good. They'll do some stuff, but it'll break.
So it's pretty easy, I guess, to identify if your team or organization is safe once you're there.
Yeah.
But when you're looking for a new team or looking for, changing
Yeah.
teams to another org, how do you identify if that place is a safe place?
So the question was, it's pretty easy to identify if your team is safe when you're in it. But if you need to change teams, how do you identify if it's safe? Great question. It's called dating. It's called making friends. It doesn't happen immediately, and you can't tell. You go on a first date, and it feels kind of good. And so you go on a second date, and it feels kind of good. And after 3 weeks, you're like, this is ridiculous, In other words, we make the decision to join teams, or we make hiring decisions too quickly sometimes. Had a couple, they met everybody on the team. We like them. Okay, now it didn't work out. It is our responsibility to assess the team we want to join based on their values and based on their beliefs. It's the concepts of why and the other things that I've written about. And there's some ways to figure that out. For example, you have to know your own before you can assess others, obviously.